Hello, you funky little goblins. You've clicked on a video called Capitalism is Killing Us. We're in for a fine time. You don't like the current system, do you? You don't have to understand it, or be able to explain it. To you, it's just a big, steaming pile of capitalism. Most people don't understand how the current system works. But today, my funky little goblin friends, we're not only going to find out, but I will prove to you that capitalism is killing us. And as you can imagine, I will do so through the lens of that classic family film, Jingle All The Way. Jingle All The Way is a 1996 Christmas family comedy film, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger of Wonders of the Sea 3D fame, and Sinbad of The Mandela Effect fame. Arnie plays average American Joe Howard Langston, a successful mattress salesman and workaholic dad who frequently lets his family down by missing important events, like karate tournaments that are inexplicably scheduled during work hours. At one point, he calls his wife his favorite customer, insinuating the sacred bond between man and wife could be itself a commodity. Sinbad plays a postal worker who also lets his conspicuously absent son down by working the job that keeps them from being homeless. Perhaps you can begin to see how this beloved film, with a 17% rating on Rotten Tomatoes, makes for a perfect framework to examine our broken relationship with work and money. In a bid to buy love and forgiveness from their children for their work-related absences, they must try to get one of the sold-out everywhere action figure toys. And because the toys are limited, they must fight each other to do so. It's a film about competition. We must exchange the time we sacrifice for the tokens of love that make up for the time that has been stolen from our families. To get the tokens. Or something like that. It has a 17% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. And it's never clear whether it's a satire on consumerism or a chance to sell a tie-in action figure. Wouldn't that be terrible? To be so lost in the darkness that you can't tell whether it's even satire anymore. At its heart, if it has one, the film is suggesting that Arnold's son is losing him, that they are losing one another, in a world whose greed is quite matter-of-fact, and something that regular shitbrick house Austrian Howard Langston could opt out of. But I'm going to tell you another story. You didn't click on this video to see how many socks I could stuff in my crotch, did you? So let's check in on that little liberal cook.
In March of 2020, COVID-19 had reached the shores of a pretty little country called Ireland. And like TERFs in a comment section, it was destroying everything in its path. Including a small vegan-adjacent cafe, upon the success of which Farrell had bet their entire life. COVID was the last coffin nail in that cafe's story, but the damage of work and stress had already been done. As the pandemic unemployment payment was reduced, Neil began to work in a shop, manual labor, as an essential worker, ignoring their deteriorating health in service of making rent. And in August of 2020, Neil almost died from internally bleeding duodenal ulcers. They nearly bled to death before the ambulance arrived, and had a few touch-and-go days, plus a blood transfusion, before they were sure they would recover. At this point they chose to slow down, and soon began a YouTube channel dedicated to helping the world through praxis and education. One of the subjects they were most determined to explain was capitalism.
Tell us a ghost story! Please.
Also, there are puppets.
Well, I know the scariest thing of all. Self-evaluation. I think we should talk about the nightmare you just had, Neil. Nightmares are a common symptom of many psychological distresses, including post-traumatic stress disorder and generalized anxiety disorder.
I don't want to go into another narrative thread. I just want to talk about capitalism
I just want to do my essay.
Neil, you've gone through some stuff in the last few days.
Fuck off.
A few might qualify as potentially traumatic events, not to mention, you know, that time you almost died, which definitely qualifies. Don't you think there's always time for mental health?
This is a video essay, which means I'm on the clock. I want to use these viewers' precious time to prove that capitalism in its current form is literally killing us.
But I'm your therapist, Neil, not the audience's therapist. With the greatest respect.
All right. I'll tell you about my nightmare then. I dreamed about Arnold Schwarzenegger in the film Jingle All The Way. Have you ever noticed how many films are about workaholic dads who don't spend enough time with their kids because they just love working so much? And have you ever noticed that in the real world, people who work too much tend to do so because if they didn't, they'd be homeless? And that's like many features of late-stage capitalism. The gig economy, working multiple jobs, being self-employed, working jobs where all of the facilities and amenities are on campus so that you're never meant to leave, chasing efficiency so that employees literally drop dead on workshop floors.
You mean like you did?
I don't want to talk about me!
We can tell!
Besides, I'm not the only person who had a traumatic year. A lot of people spent the last year choosing between their job and their health. During a pandemic, when choosing to go to work means exposing yourself to death in a way that's usually a bit more hidden, a lot of people had very similar experiences to mine.
Oh, the essay is starting!
Do a recipe!
There's your recipe. It's vegan. One of the cruelest ironies of the situation was that jobs we deemed essential are largely underpaid. Maybe not the jobs for doctors, but nurses, sanitation workers, the people who bagged your groceries for minimum wage, like I did. They're the people who kept going to work, and they paid a price, and so did everyone who knew them. Not just because they had the potential to affect their bubble, but because for every person who died in this pandemic, there's a web of bereaved family and friends, all of whom now are grieving, and some of whom are suffering from actual consequential health conditions like long COVID or asthma or PTSD. All that suffering for what? €11 an hour? If you're lucky?
Oh, capitalism is killing us! Now I get it! Yes, this is true. There is pain in this pandemic, and we can take some time to focus on the parts that are painful. But there are gifts in pain.
Is this more positive psychology?
Well, yes, but that's not a bad thing. A lot of focus on psychology can be on the ways that we are hurt, and those are important. But in the midst of difficult times, it is often helpful not to shut out forces like optimism. Even trauma can be a catalyst for growth.
How? How can trauma be good?
Oh no, trauma isn't good. We're not going to say it's good, but it is inevitable and normal. The average person experiences multiple traumatic events in their lifetime. Traumatic experiences are a part of life, and actually, most people are resilient to developing a serious complication like PTSD. But even that disorder can have a silver lining. There's a phenomenon called post-traumatic growth, where people find themselves to be positively changed after a traumatic event, to see themselves as having greater capacity for empathy or greater awareness. It's complicated because it occurs simultaneously with PTSD, which is a painful and disruptive disorder. And we don't want to erase that. But bleak times can be illuminating. They can show us things we wouldn't otherwise notice. Grief and trauma, they can both have this way of reshaping the way we live our lives and putting things into a better perspective.
They show us how capitalism actually operates in our lives.
Well, you really want to talk about capitalism?
Isn't that what happened with you, Neil? Isn't that why you started YouTubing? Isn't that what's happening to everyone right now? Coming out of a disruption like COVID?
That's true. And it's something other people are doing too. There's evidence to show an increasing trend of people either changing careers or somehow getting out of the awful jobs they were in. In the previous episode, we spoke about how countries like Ireland introduced COVID-specific social safety nets like the pandemic unemployment payment, which gave people not only the means to survive, but also an opportunity to examine the shape of the life that they want to have. The one thing that Jingle All The Way got right is that sometimes it can take a big, catastrophic event to stop and ask yourself what kind of life you want. what Jingle All The Way got wrong, what Hollywood always gets wrong, is that this is an individual choice without social pressures, social consequences, and real life or death stakes. Let's talk about Afghanistan. So, it's 2021 and the Taliban has taken over Afghanistan. And I'm not going to give myself permission to have an opinion on it. I know a little bit about Afghanistan. I know its location on a map. I know the language they speak. But I don't know enough about the history of the situation to have an opinion. I don't know how it's going to work out. It's actually pretty good. I do know, though, that some people are scared. Some people were rushing to the airport to get out. If Twitter can be believed, then others were burning their degrees to align with a presumed soon-to-be-imposed rigid gender hierarchy. I've seen some countries put forth paltry increases to their refugee quotas, and others start fear-mongering about foreign influences on the population. But what does this have to do with Ireland? Well, there's an airport about 20 miles that way, in unassuming, rural, cosy Ireland. You know, the Ireland you've been enjoying watching me in, digging around in the hedges, waving to cows. Lovely, innocent, sure we wouldn't do you any harm, Ireland. And in this airport, between the years of 2004 and 2014, 2.4 million American soldiers passed through, landed, refueled, sometimes went into the nearby town in their full military regalia. Last year it was 75,000 troops, and the year before it was 93,000, who just generally hung around, broke COVID restrictions, reminded everyone that the English-speaking world is America, and that in global terms, America is the maniac in the room holding the gun. And they went off to Afghanistan, to Iraq, to whatever country the US was bombing at the time, and then they came back from Afghanistan, Iraq, and this time they were carrying people from those places, people whose next destination was Guantanamo Bay. The process is called extraordinary extradition, and it's illegal under international law. Officially, Ireland has never had kidnapped people extradited by the US through its borders, but journalists, international watch groups, and leaked government documents prove otherwise. Between 33, if you believe the New York Times, or more than 50 if you prefer Amnesty International. People have been kidnapped and brought through Ireland by the CIA/American military in the last X years. Allegedly. By incredibly robust sources. Links, as the canny YouTuber likes to say, in the fucking description. So why do we let them do that?
Sorry.
Money? Call it, I don't know, 37 million euro a year? Which is how much the airport generated in 2005 from US military stopovers. Now, I don't know if that was a particularly good year, but every time the Irish government answers questions about why Ireland, a neutral country, is allowing itself to be part of the system of US military domination, the answer is always financial. We can't say no. Think of the jobs. Think of the Celtic Tiger. What about the economic cost of being seen as hostile to the troops? Ireland's role globally is to let the US act with impunity, whether that's in overt war or in the subtler acts of violence and domination enacted through capitalism. Big multi-million-dollar American corporations or big multi-million-dollar acts of aggression from the American military. Come here, do your dirty business, spend a little bit, create jobs. We won't tell anyone anything. And if you're a big corporation, we won't ask you to pay any tax. Come here, create jobs, make us look like we maybe know what the fuck we're doing. If you're the American military, come here, do whatever you want. Commit war atrocities, break international conventions. We will lie on your behalf. Just please spend some money. The money is worth all the blood. And this, my dear YouTube friends, is the same airport that they wanted me to get on a plane to go and emigrate, live somewhere else with better job opportunities. Like America. But what does this have to do with Jingle All The Way?
It's wonderful to be here.
Well, there is that. But think about it this way. Jingle All The Way, or Jatwa, is a non-functional satire of capitalism. The film tries to show us Arnie's character as a sort of money-hungry alpha who's so self-obsessed he can't even remember to buy his son the toy he wanted.
The doll.
But instead, Arnie spends the whole film just falling over his own arse and punching reindeer in the face, and he flits wildly between being pitiable and cringe and charming and burning with an unquenchable rage. Jatwa tries to show us that the commercialization of Christmas causes us to turn on one another, sometimes even violently, which really does happen at Christmas. But instead of showing us that we should perhaps cherish one another at this time of year instead, the film just jumps shark after shark and kind of expects us to believe that Arnie can just punch and kick his way out of this situation that was essentially a failure to be thoughtful. And it culminates in him literally firing weapons at his enemies and in military experimental equipment at an actual parade of capitalism, a sort of orgiastic, clambering mess of Crayola crayons and Paddington Bear and explosions. And that all works out just fine for Arnie, because the message of the film is clear. To succeed in this life, you have to be one thing and one thing only, and that's a big hunk of white fucking rich daddy. Even though everybody's sort of pretending, including the audience, that this clearly Austrian man is American, it doesn't matter. Jingle All The Way makes no secret that wealth is good, actually, and violence is good, actually. And yeah, we should probably all work a little less hard, but not because capitalism is killing people like Myron. No, it's because if you spend too much time away from home, somebody might fuck your wife. Oh, shit.
Which, unfortunately, is how most people think about the world. Because the hardest part isn't deciding or learning for yourself.
Let us cross the bridge!
It's getting anyone to agree with you.
What's this? A video essay? So much practice.
What's this one about? How Spider-Man is a trans allegory? God, Pratchett is so predictable.
Let's see how our protagonist deals with trolls.
What's the problem? Yeah, it's a video essay.
And a musical number.
You're not dealing with your puppets anymore.
We've done our own research.
This is a waste of breath. Never had much money.
And that's your biggest regret.
So bitch and moan and whine, but it won't change shit. The lazy stay poor, and the go-getters get rich.
You know it's not so simple, but you know you need a change. Maybe you need to play the system, but you're just not brave enough.
Looks like we're really getting to it.
No. It's a devil.
You gender ideologues, they're all they.
Shut the fuck up! Shut up! Shut the fuck up! All of you, shut up!
Neil, there's another bridge over there.
Oh. Well, that was disappointing.
What do you... Come on, guys.
You must go to the Citadel alone.
What?
We cannot go with you.
But, guys, come on. We're supposed... This essay is only kind of about how capitalism is killing us. It's actually about community. Community. It's the way we implement social change. Come on, guys. Let's let the market... alone?
After everything?
Oh, we don't want to leave. But before we go...
We will impart 3 special gifts.
The first gift is your teeth. To remind you that capitalism goes all the way down. To go easy on yourself. And don't feel like it's a moral failing not to fix them.
Your second gift is your audience. And your Patreons, your collaborators, and your friends, to remind you that you are not alone.
And your third gift. You already know the third gift. It's your second chance.
I genuinely almost died. And I was working that day. I was shitting literal blood in my workplace, trying to convince myself that I wasn't, and trying to not get in trouble for slacking off. I felt pretty woozy, pretty dizzy, but I finished my shift, and I went home and had to have a little lie down, and sort of played it off. Needed to rest. I didn't want to worry the kids. They were having a sleepover.
So then I started to feel really bad stomach cramps, and I was shitting blood. I don't know how I thought that this could possibly be fine. I just knew I couldn't be sick, not for long. I just signed off the pandemic unemployment payment in order to work, and we've been so poor for so long. I started to vomit what looked like coffee grinds. One look at Google. It's not good. That's not good. That's blood coming out of both ends. And I had one partner on the phone trying not to panic me, but trying to convince me to take some action. And another partner in the house keeping me from dying and trying not to frighten the kids. So we did call a doctor, and the doctor called an ambulance. But because Ireland, the only country in the EU that doesn't, strictly speaking, have free healthcare, and also the health services is really shite anyway, it took 3 hours for the ambulance to arrive. I nearly bled out.
I had no control over my bowel movements at this point. When I was getting in the ambulance, I went to wash my face and say goodbye to the girls, and I collapsed into my youngest daughter's room. Scared the shit out of everyone. Instantly woke up and started cracking jokes, just to make sure everyone was okay, like you're supposed to do. And I didn't want to worry anyone, and I wanted to make sure that the girls knew how much fun they are to be around and how much I love them, without making it too obvious that that's what I was doing. And I was cracking jokes with the guys in the ambulance, you know. Not because I have an insecure need to be the funniest person in the room. More that I would have liked to go out making people laugh, you know. I was sick because I've been poor and overworked for too long. And it almost killed me. And I didn't die. And I thought, a lot like our friend Arnie, can't keep doing this. Fuck this. Almost dying so someone can make a few fucking euro. You shouldn't die for that. You should die because you fucking jumped out of a plane or something. You should live. You all should live. Go have a lot of very good sex. Alright. What's a citadel?
There you are. There you are, there you are. The very bastard. Very bastard. How are you?
Have we met?
Well, you could say that. After all, you're my favourite customer. Let's rock. How's the YouTubing going? Is there much money in that? Have you had any sponsorship offers?
Well, I'd really rather avoid that whole...
Oh, so you want to go with merchandise? You could sell liberal cooked chopping boards, so people could slice onions on your face.
No, I want to just stick with Patreon, actually.
Ah, I get it. You want to sell your merch through Patreon?
No, I don't want to sell anything.
You know, this whole leftist woke thing is very in vogue, and that's good. It's great that people can be themselves and complain about economics as if they've the first clue about how it works. But if you want my advice,
I don't.
You shouldn't let it eat itself. Use politics for what they're for, you know?
What are politics for, then?
Branding!
No, not my politics.
Sure, that's easy to say when you've no power, and you wouldn't know what to do with it if you had it. Look at this. Inside that building is a coalition of two political parties who stand for exactly the same thing, which is getting elected. Pro-treaty, anti-treaty, it doesn't matter. It only matters that it says something about you. You're a Fianna Fáil family, they're a Fine Gael one. It doesn't matter that they stand for the same things. It doesn't matter if the name brand and the generic brand are made in the same factory. What matters is how the brand makes us feel.
That's not politics.
When sitting in front of a webcam talking about Jordan Peterson is. That's politics, and it's branding, and it matters. That's politics, and it's branding, and it doesn't. We could make you matter, you know. We could get you 10,000, 100,000, 1 million YouTube subscribers. You might have to fix your teeth first, but...
Yeah.
Be honest. How much do you make on Patreon a month?
I'm not telling you that.
That's because you're embarrassed. It's embarrassing being poor and powerless and not knowing how the system works.
I know how the system works.
Then you must have some kind of fetish for being a loser. Being a loser isn't moral, Neil. It isn't cool. It isn't cheating an indifferent world. It almost killed you on numerous occasions. Literally almost killed you. That's not being a martyr. That's driving without a seatbelt. Why don't you try being on top? Have you ever felt what it's like to win?
Because someone else would just be in my place. Overworked, stressed, dying.
You could be a success. It isn't hard. So many idiots are successful. You're all alone now, staring out at a world of sellouts and phonies like your catcher in the rye. But just imagine how many of their minds you could change if you just looked after number one. After all, don't your family need you to provide for them? Why are you making these videos? How are you making any money? No merch, no mid-roll ads, not even looking for a sponsor? Is this the alternative you're offering your audience? Hunger, futility, indentured servitude because of a lack of vision? How are you going to answer that?
I don't need to have all the answers.
No, I suppose you can rely on charity for your money and your ideas.
Come on, Neil. You know what you need to do.
Is it charity? When people break bread together? Is it charity? When I make them a video because I am compelled to, because I came up with an idea and thought it was beautiful and thought it would help people, and then I see people comment and saying that it did, is that charity? And then when some people catch me and hold me and yes, support me and encourage me to make more, is it charity? Is it charity to teach? Is academia charity or is it a business? We don't trust scientists or academics because we can't see what's in it for them. Is our whole collective knowledge a rigged game? Or is it actually an unfurling process of human discovery? Is it charity to form communities, to build memories and legacies and change the world? Is charity a bad thing anyway? Is altruism, is need, is aid, is kindness, is trust a fucking sin now? Is art a commodity? Or is it a charity? Or is it just art? Am I alone? Am I a loser? Or am I worthy of love? Am I someone that can be trusted to return that love without a price tag or an agenda?
You're really losing focus here. Losing relatability. Not everyone can make art and feed their families. It's just not practical. But you have a gift, a platform. And if you change your thumbnails a bit, go for some catchier topics, change your stupid name from a pun to something revolutionary. If you have a video go well, you can make passive money on the ads. You're working so hard on these essays. How do you know you're not just going to start bleeding out again? Only instead of dying for a business, you're dying for what? Working for work's sake? When you could just get passive income, work less hard, spend more time with your children and partners.
Because it's not about me. It's not about any individual. Arnold Schwarzenegger, are workaholics even real? People either work for passion, because they care and love what they're doing, because they're making a difference, they have a sense of duty, for the sake of art or passion or a drive to make the world better, or they work for wages, because they're forced to. There's no situation where a father doesn't want to go home to his wife and kid because he really just cares about inputting numbers into a spreadsheet. No one misses their kid's baseball game because they just prefer unloading inventory in a warehouse. Most people aren't Arnold with a giant house and the ability to quit whenever they want. And most people aren't me with a growing platform which I could take advantage of. No, most people can't decide whether to leave work early or take a day off. They need to work in order to feed themselves, to not be homeless. They can't express deviant gender at a job interview for fear of being passed over. They can't be out about being poly without being fired. They can't go spend more time with their children, not only because jobs don't work that way, but because they can't afford to have children to begin with. You have films telling you that the vague unease you feel about putting work before life is an individual failing, but it is a systemic one. And putting it on an individual level just keeps us thinking we're all secretly failing, alone. Ireland isn't an individual actor either. Ireland is neoliberal because it benefits the rich here and in the US and across the world. But we're not alone, and the system isn't a machine, it's constructed. And it's a system we can take down through education and unionizing and strikes and protests, and yes, through some little educational videos on the internet, because that's a part of how community is formed. A community that exists beyond borders that shouldn't even be. Because we can make a world where work and contribution is done out of duty and diligence and passion and not under threat of poverty. Because goodness and kindness and charity are real. Because this isn't Jingle All The Way. This is a Muppet fucking Christmas Carol.
Neoliberalism, I cast you out.
No, 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 no.
Go away, please.
Communication, honesty. Pew, pew, pew.
Go away, please.
My community.
Eat nettles, you neoliberal bastard.
No.
Oh no! Jeez, no! Back off!
Buzz off.
Go away, please.
Leave some for me.
You haven't heard the last of me, you liberal cook.
Liberal Cook is the name of the channel.
I know. It's the name of the channel.
Sorry. Do a recipe!
So hot. Compersion activate! Go, lobster friends, go! Get it? Because I'm a mainer. Because I also am going to do a bee pun. Just a single bee pun. And we'll see how it goes. Buzz off. Great, okay.
By the power vested in me, neoliberalism, I cast you out!
Go away, please. Go away, please. Go away, please. Go away.
Oh hey Neil, it's Jack Dora here, calling you from your holidays in Spain to say thank you for plugging me, and I fucking love your channel, baby. Ooh yeah, keep it up.
With my glasses off, it's hard for me to tell whether my forward hand is above the green screen or not. That's what I'm looking for.
Thanks.